Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Usually this is where I tell you what this episode number is, what this podcast is called, what my name is, where I am. I don't care right now. The Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. Cody, I'm here today with just Cody. Nick's overseas right now in Italy. Do you want to start? I don't know. This is
surreal.
Surreal. All these words that we could use. Unimaginable. It's just, oh my. We needed a couple days here, Cody, to gather our thoughts. We still might not have them. I wanted to start. I've got some notes here. We're going to do the best that we can, but just the excitement. Every time I pick up my phone and I refresh my timeline, I see Lord Stanley with the Florida Panthers, a new clip that I haven't seen, a new picture that I haven't seen yet. It's just surreal. I've got Barkov on my wallpaper on my phone. Every time I pick my phone up for a text or a call or to check in on you, Cody, people in our community, I see Alexander Barkov holding the Stanley Cup, smiling. That's my favorite picture when he's holding that cup there.
An image 2 years ago that I thought a lot of people didn't think it would happen.
Remember where we were, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, with all the change in the organization, the sweep from Tampa that we've talked about so much here. Such a distant memory when we believe we have the best team in the National Hockey League, but it doesn't end up being that way because there's only the one team at the end of the year that wins their final game of the year. And finally, that's us. Is this a dream?
It's something that has been coming for Florida all year, in my opinion. That stretch that they had in early January, February, where they were just dummying and shutting down the best teams in hockey, made me really believe that this team had a chance. Like that stretch where we beat Vegas, Colorado. At the time, the now formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes were on a good stretch then.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to Tampa 9-1 or 9-2.
A lot of people brought up that game on our post-game show.
Yeah, it's just surreal. Like you think it could happen, like knowing it could happen. I think
Cody, I want to go back now because we're really breaking it down macro here. I want to go back, like what this means to you as a fan. If you want to start, I'll explain mine and then we'll get into Game 7, this whole series here.
I mean, just as a fan, like I said, I started watching when I was 6 years old, which was 2007, 2008 season. Just, I don't know, I went on a summer camp trip to a hockey rink and we were just skating and I just, fell in love with it and I fell in love with the skating part, but then we went to the other side or whatever. And we were just grouping up on that one side and I just saw a hockey game taking place. And that's when I first fell in love with hockey in general. Because the first game I remember I ever watched was Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, which was, I think, Detroit over Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly.
I could see that series bringing in a lot of hockey fans.
Yeah, I remember that. And then, I watched the tail end of, the Panther season. That was, I believe that was Jokinen's last year.
Okay.
And Jacques Martin's last year with the 07-08 season.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just flash forward and that's where the fandom began for me. I mean, I've watched every single game since. Watched guys from Stephen Weiss, David Booth, to the next era, which included Thomas Fleischman, Christopher Stieg, Sean Bergenheim, Mike Weaver, Jason Garrison, Jose Theodore, to then the rebuilding era, which we drafted, Barkov and Ekblad. But then you had guys like Nick Bukestad, Vincent Trocheck, Mike Matheson was in there at the tail end of that. Just all these different guys like Rocco Grimaldi, I remember. Connor Brickley, I remember.
Wow. Yeah. I might have did a Connor Brickley article at one time.
I remember Tim Thomas, Dan Ellis.
That's why Cody doesn't like the goaltending position so much. Those are the goalies that he remembers, unlike me with Beezer.
Yeah. I started with Vokoun, which was a good start.
Yeah, that was. And I remember
the Vokoun chants in the crowd, like, Vokoun, Bo
Hmm.
Kuhn, like those days at the what was when Amaranth Bank was also known as the Bank Atlantic Center.
Yep. All the different name changes and not to mention all
Just
of that. I don't know. I don't want to interrupt on you there. Anything?
it's just watching those teams and the heartbreak that was the double OT game 7 loss to New Jersey, who eventually went on to lose in the cup final that year. Just watching all the ups and the downs, just staying consistent, watching the team, and just watching. Like the thing was, like I always remember watching the playoffs and just thinking, man, when are the Panthers gonna get this treatment? When are they gonna, get into these big time games?
Hmm.
Like
Go
I'm
on a
just
run.
like
Yeah.
I'm watching Tampa make the cup final in 2015 as a younger team. I remember watching, Pittsburgh rebound and win those back-to-back cups. I remember watching Chicago's dynasty. I remember watching the LA King Misfits, a
Hmm.
tough roughneck team led by, their version of Barkov and Anze Kopitar. And like it just just watching and just like, man, why can't the Panthers play like this? Like we were always soft, we were always getting bullied, we never got a call. Every time there was a big game, we no showed it. It was just,
Our own worst enemy. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I
Hmm.
just, and like the darkest days, like even you talk about the David Booth hit from Mike Richards
That was on my birthday. Yeah.
that essentially ended his career. All the promise that man had, even though he, in my opinion, has the funniest moment in Panthers history when he just picked up the puck and threw it against Pittsburgh.
Remember that? Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. The things that we remember,
yeah, like
looking back. I again, like jump in on my story, Cody, but I've shared it with people that hear our post game show. Again, make sure to join us on Twitter X Spaces. We're going to be live all week long here. Any breaking news, possibly the parade day. I'm not too sure on that quite yet. Any signings, those type of things, we're gonna go live, and obviously on July 1st. But for people that are listening to this podcast and just kind of know me from this platform, yeah, I just want to share my story again. Like being a 9, 10-year-old boy in Western Canada, growing up, I kind of watched the Penguins when I came in to the sport of hockey. That's where I was introduced with Mario, Yager, Kevin Stevens. And again, people have come to me and they say, Kirby, I'm a new fan. I feel a little bit of guilt because, I have this championship now and people are saying, oh, well, you're just a bandwagon fan that jumped on this year or 2 seasons ago. You would have never jumped on with this Florida Panthers team. You have to find a starting point to when you find your first love in this game, your number one team, the team that you're going to ride or die with. So everyone finds that point. And, when I first saw the Penguins in the early 90s, the Panthers didn't even exist yet. And then when the Panthers came in, I was like, even before 1996, their first season, I was like, I like this jersey. I like the goaltender that wears like a really unique mask. This is a new team that could be my own. And a lot of people around me, they cheered for like different teams that were successful at the time, be it the Philadelphia Flyers, eventually the Detroit Red Wings, the Colorado Avalanche. If you skip ahead a few years later, everyone kind of had their own team. I was in a city in Calgary that had the Flames, but a lot of people in my age range, they had their own team. And I was like, I want my own team. And this new team that came in, and my brother, funny enough, he picked the Anaheim Ducks because of the Mighty Ducks movies, D1, D2, D3. Paul Kariya, Timo Solani really fit kind of his style of hockey and guys that he liked. And I found this team that was coming out at the same time, the Florida Panthers, and I said, I'm going to get a jersey. My first jersey was a John Van Beesbrook jersey. I got like as much merchandise as I could. It was very hard to find. I know even everyone tells me down there in South Florida, it's still hard to find until like these recent couple of years. But anything I could find, a hat, a T-shirt, a keychain, anything I could get my hands on, I could find. And I would follow this team religiously through the newspaper, anything on the radio that I could get in Canada, and they would play some games of them, but you wouldn't get a lot. So I did anything that I could. And, at the beginning, it was pretty sweet going to the Stanley Cup in year 3, missing the playoffs in year 1 by, I believe, a point. So the first part of my journey as a Panther fan was really entertaining, fun, exciting, Cody, like all of that, right?
boy,
But
that did
then
not prepare for you what was next.
it did prepare for you was next. After that came ridicule, being mocked in public, made fun of by family and friends. you cheer for the Florida Panthers? Why? And like they would want to know the story, but the look on their face would be of disgust, shock, surprise. And these were people, that I played sports with, or family and friends that, I would go to different family events and outings. They didn't know who I cheered. Like, oh, who do you cheer for, Kirby? And then they start to learn over time. Obviously, I'm a Florida Panther fan. This is my team. But Cody, that just did not stop. And then you talked about the moment you kind of came in where, we're getting a little bit better. We have a shot here in the playoffs. Against the New York Islanders, against, New Jersey Devils. And just that heartbreak and disappointment, 1-goal games, overtime, game 7s, and not building off of it season after season after season. And you start to wonder, Cody, and you and I are very optimistic Panther fans. When is it going to come? When is it going to turn? And I had so many chances to give up on this team, throw in my hat, pick a new team, give up on the sport completely. Very easy thing to do when you live alone up in Canada and you have no one around you. Maybe when you were early in my childhood, I had some friends that bought Panther jerseys or T-shirts, but they threw those away in the trash or got rid of them really quick. I had no one around me. I had no support system, not even from family and friends, really, right? Like, it's really dark, right? But I'm like, I'm a loyal guy. I'm an honest guy. I want to keep with this team. And when we found this community, Cody, I cannot tell you all the stories. Would love. We're going to share some stuff here in a bit. I would love to share all the stories that people have told me, Cody, over this past week.
Yeah.
Since winning the Stanley Cup, of where they felt alone, where they didn't have no one to talk to. Their wives now or kids, like, they're tired of them hearing about the Panthers. And these are fans that are, local in the state that might not be in the area of South Florida, but also fans that are in Canada, fans that are all around the world. We've really become like a real world ambassador, Cody, you and I, in this community, like bringing people in. So it's unreal. It's
just like all the disappointments, especially ever since the year 2000, it felt like, because
outside the beret, kind of.
I didn't.
Well, you said 2000.
Yes, but I wasn't born when Bure was here, so I can't count that one for me.
Even internet radio, everyone that didn't get to see Pavel Bure play, it was exciting, even listening on the radio. But go ahead, Cody.
But just the pure disappointments, I think, because that just brought us here to this point, just makes this cup even sweeter. Like the 2012, Game 7L, where it just stung. And then the very next year having one of the worst years in franchise history in that lockout shortened season in 2012-13. Then, making it back, building the team back up to 15-16, led by, the three young kids and back led Huberdeau and Barkov.
Yep.
And then the resurgent veterans of Jaromir Jagr and Roberto Luongo, and then just John Tavares.
Adam Henrique.
Yep. And then just not building on those years. Then the expansion draft debacle, setting us back another 2 years.
That's almost as dark in that time as the previous era, Cody, because of all the potential we had and we're showing.
And then you had 2017 to 2020, which I called we are 3 points back we're 3 points back with 2 games in hand era. Where
that was Peter DeBoer era as well. But go ahead.
But I really didn't understand the standings at the time to really remember the era like that. I remember this past one like that, where it's like, oh man, we're only 3 points back with 2 games in hand. We got this.
A lot of times, funny enough, I'll say back to the prior era, it was the Carolina Hurricanes, and at a point in time, our coach, Stanley Cup champion coach, Paul Maurice, was part of those Carolina Hurricanes teams that when we thought we had hope and chance, they snatched it away from us. So it's funny, all these parallels, the Corey Perrys, the Pat Maroons that we had to go through on this playoff run. It's funny how these things are all coming full circle, Cody.
Yeah. And then you had the resurgent year, I like to call it, where we started out like trash and nearly made the playoffs, had the best record beyond the All-Star break. But then I remember we needed the Philadelphia Flyers to lose to the New York Rangers for us to have a chance to get in, and they won 4-1, 5-1, something like that.
We never used to get scoreboard help, which I tell new fans now, we've got a lot of scoreboard
and then
help. Back to last season.
Pittsburgh playing the 2 worst teams in hockey, the 2 teams that had the number 1 and number 3 picks respectively in last year's draft. Lost to both of them.
Yep.
And, just went on the crazy run where it kind of just showed us this team can win. I mean, I think last year was a lot of just luck. And then you just fast fast forward to this year where you still had elements of last year, but it was backed up by strong depth, strong goaltending, great coaching. Like it's just the pinnacle of what the Panthers weren't. They
Yeah.
weren't winners. Like, because in my opinion, you need luck to win, but winners create their own luck by working hard. And the Panthers did that.
Eh,
Like, of course, they had to make it hard by almost blowing a
Yeah.
3-0 lead, like in true Panthers fashion.
We'll get into that here in a second, Cody, because like everyone's like, oh, you guys are really going down memory lane here, but everyone is doing that right now, Cody, and we'll continue to do that even on the next podcast or two. But we really wanted to speak from the heart and like what our feelings are, because I've been here, Cody, and hearing a lot of these fans, message me in DMs. I sent something out tonight in a tweet, and it's funny that we're recording this podcast tonight. You guys are going to listen to this the next day. Roberto Luongo is in a local restaurant right now, his in-laws restaurant, eating pasta out of the Stanley Cup. Also, the players are getting ready, we'll say it on air here, to go to an adult establishment location, and fans are tweeting that out right now. Me and Cody are just sitting in our homes right now talking into a microphone for all of you. So all of you that are having a lot of fun tonight, continue to have that fun. We're going to see all the sights and sounds, I bet. Let's just go to some messages here, Cody, and then we'll get into how Game 7 went, this whole roller coaster from Game 4 to 7. We'll break that all down here. This is from Chris Scott. There's so much to say, so many people to be happy for. I'm happy for all the podcasters and fans of the team that have been here for so long. I'm thankful that you got to be a part of this journey. Happy for the players, management, and the journalists, broadcasters who cover this team. From Jeremy, from dread, stress, and potential sports depression, which we're going to get into in our next segment here, to the ultimate sports euphoria. What a roller coaster of emotions. We talked between Game 6 and 7, Kirby, so you can share any of those things and those conversations that are relevant to this. But overall, there's so much individuals that are in this organization, fan base, and community that deserve this moment. And I hope each and every one of you have enjoyed the celebrations. I haven't been able to take in your guys' post-game shows due to being on vacation, which a lot of people are on vacation right now, including our co-host Nick here. The extra rest messed those days up, but I'm looking forward to getting caught up on all of it very soon. There's a big summer of gearing up for a title defense that's coming up soon, and we're going to get into that a little bit at the end of this podcast, if not at our next podcast episode, What is Ahead for these Florida Panthers. That starts in the next couple of days, but for now, I hope everyone I can't even speak right now. Everyone just enjoys this moment. Our Cats are Stanley Cup champions. This is from one of our co-hosts on our post-game Spaces show, Vincent, who's in Vegas right now, taking in the draft, and is going to give us some coverage when he gets back on our podcast here. What an absolute roller coaster of emotions. It had everything. At the end of the day, we got the win, though, and it's incredible. This is why we stick with this team through everything. It makes these moments even more meaningful. And Vince, I couldn't even said it any better. When I was reading that, I felt those exact same words. And then go back to Chris here. He said, lastly, happy for the ones who have been fans for so long. We've been through some awful lows as fans, so we can appreciate this so much more. What a team. What a ride. I'm just grateful to be part of this community. I'm just grateful to have you all part of our Cats and Rats community here. And then Kyle Drake topped it off tonight with that GIF meme from the Shawshank Redemption movie, where the guy is looking up into the heavens there in the rainstorm. I'm not going to say what he was crawling through, but what he was crawling through was what a lot of our OG and longtime fans had to go through with this organization. So it's nice to come out the other end and be Stanley Cup champions. So those were just my words there, but I think that was pretty poetic there, that meme and GIF. So Cody, anything to say on the community or those
Just, comments
or thoughts?
Like, once again, we appreciate you guys. I mean, like, everyone in that community like understands like the pain that every single one of us went through. Like, it builds us, like the pain brings us closer. Like, each space is where, there's like a big loss or whatever, people are upset. It kind of brings like that sense of camaraderie that we're all upset for the same reason. Like, because for a lot of those years, like I think every Panther fan said like, damn, is there any other Panther fans around me? Because like growing up, like the Panthers were considered an afterthought, and I don't really remember that many people talk about the Panthers. And when I talked about it, I said, "Oh man, what about '96?" And me being a younger fan, I got tired about hearing about '96.
Yeah, we know that from Cody. I tried not to bring it up too much to Cody, and I was really young, like 10 years old, pretty much.
Like 11, I didn't experience '96. Like what the hell? Like like, oh, dude, Miami was rocking back then. I'm like, why can't it be rocking now?
Not even the same location now.
Like,
How about the newer arena that's, has got some age and character into it, still holding
yeah.
up well, but how about that arena?
But now it's
Yeah.
seen a Panther Stanley Cup, which is a thing that I don't think a lot of people thought we would see. It's just,
Mhm. Back-to-back long runs here with this special group. That's culminating in a championship that you can never take it away from any of these players. And we'll get into this if we have time, this podcast episode or next. Kirby, which guys are going to stay? Which guys are going to go? Like, it's time to think about that, but it's also time to revel and
just
enjoy this
appreciate
moment
them while they're here.
appreciate them while they're here. I know this is something I said earlier today. I didn't have this in my notes, but Brandon Montour, Ryan Lomberg, and Nick Cousins are all going to go do a signing. And I tweeted that out to our fan base on Twitter, and I said, I kind of thought on my own. I didn't read it. I didn't read anything. It just popped into my head. I said, maybe this collection of these three players are going to do this because this is their kind of last moment with this organization, and they're going to go do it together. This could be talked, internally.
Yeah.
Different things. We don't know. It's just speculation on my behalf, but that could be a possibility. All those three guys will be three.
Thing is, people,
and it's sad because all those three have moments from these two finals runs.
I mean, Lomberg with the OT winner in Tampa a couple years ago.
The Carolina one that was called back.
Colin White, but shout out Colin White there. Nick Cousins ending the game in Toronto.
And breaking the Maple Leafs Nation's hearts that thought they were going to the Stanley Cup.
And it's so poetic that Kyle Dubas's last game in Toronto was ended by a former member of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds.
Yep, one of his best players at the time.
Yep. Yeah, for those who don't know, it's hard to believe, but Nick Cousins was actually known as a scorer back in his junior days.
Yeah, he was leading the league, I believe, until he got suspended, I think it was.
Yeah. But, and Brandon Montour, the entirety of last season and the Boston series.
The DNA of what this team is him. But go ahead.
Yeah, just those three guys. It sucks that we're probably gonna. I would highly doubt that Cousins or Lomberg would come back
because they could get outpriced, and teams want those guys. Championship DNA, not just this playoff run. What they did last year, what Lomberg did when he first got to be here as a Florida Panther against Tampa Bay, and the Brandon Montour thing. I just want to throw out Cody. That game 7, he was the best player on the ice in period 1, and that third period he locked down McDavid. He was in on Hyman. That was shades of Game 7 Boston.
He saved his own bacon in that third period, though. He saved his own, he saved his bacon, but that's what it takes to win a Stanley Cup, though.
Yeah, but there were second, third efforts by him. Yeah. We were in our own zone. The first pairing, even the second pairing, we're getting hemmed in our zone. But just fight, battle.
But those were second and third efforts by everyone on the team.
Yep, your boy Lusto.
Those efforts win you cups. Those moments win you cups, and those players are always going to be beloved here in Florida.
Yep, people are going to miss them when they're gone. Some people are like, I don't like this guy anymore. Get him out of here. Scratch this player. Don't want to see him. Cody, you and I know the fan base so well. Better than most to any people, because we talk for hours and hours after every game with the fan base. People from different walks of life, different areas around the globe. We know how fans are. We're very perceptive. We listen a lot. We don't just speak, we listen. And a lot of fans are going to miss these players because of the fact that this team is a Stanley Cup champion. And even if they came up short, which we'll get into here, even if they came up short, what this team and this collection of guys has done over these last 3+ seasons, people, let's get into it. People are thinking about Huberdeau right now. They're thinking about Mackenzie Weegar. I thought about Mason Marchment this week. I know Cody is not your guy, but I love that dude. But
Vinny Trocheck for me.
Vinny Trocheck, right? I go back to Luongo, and I got so emotional watching Luongo hold the cup. And even today on social media, it's like his day with the cup. He's in everything online. If you're seeing what he's doing, his day at work with the cup, now at his in-laws restaurant, it's just so special to me. On the other side of the coin, I'm not really thinking about Jonathan Huberdeau, but I know you are and other fans are, and I can tell you why. Because that was the first star player that you cheered for, like I did
Yeah.
with Luongo. So it means a lot to me that Luongo is here now, and I understand that Huberdeau is not. But I know, Cody, I was going to bring this up to you. I didn't talk to you about this off air. I know you're going to speak on that because my emotions and feelings are a lot different than some. But there's an interesting divide there. But if you want to speak on that.
It's just the way you grew up. It's just like you look at Bure and Luongo and Jokinen in a different light than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't watch those guys. Like I understand their impact, but I didn't watch them to get like, like the heart to heart for them.
And you saw Luongo a bit at the tail end.
Yeah, but he wasn't like, like
it wasn't prime.
I didn't.
But he was still good. He was still good. I stand by
in
that.
my head, I don't think of him as a Panther. I think of him as a Canuck.
Yeah.
And
For you.
that sucks, but that's just how young I am. But what, like, it sucks not having Huberdeau because I grew up watching that guy. And like I watched him from his first game on develop into at the time the best passer in the league, bar none. Like he had vision that like I said, I think he's the best passer the Florida Panthers have ever had, and I don't think it's close. Like in terms of vision and everything, you'll be hard pressed to find a better guy in a Panther jersey than Jonathan Huberdeau when it comes to that. But I just can't deny the fact that he didn't have the extra gear. Like it's
and you remember the things on the way out more than anything, where Luongo got to tell his story by coming back to Florida and then working in management. Keith Yandel's final days, Mackenzie Weegar final days, Jonathan Huberdeau's final days. Not as much of what happened on the ice, of course, some of what happened on the ice, but the stuff off the ice, the comment, who cares, all that. You can't change 3-0. Yeah, you can't change that. Where Luongo got a chance to rewrite that script. And not only rewrite that script, come back and play for the organization, but be here as a manager, and he will get a ring. His name is going to be on the Stanley Cup as well, I believe.
Yep.
Because you get a choice of certain executives.
I mean,
not everyone can be.
I'm not going to completely write off that. Let's say Huberdeau or Weegar never get a chance to rewrite that script.
I don't know. It's not chapters, but that story's not done completely. I guess you can't say 0%. That's right.
Like it's close to there, but it's not. I wouldn't say 0.
I'll say Jay Bomeister is 0, but anyways, digress. Another guy I wasn't thinking about. Everyone always says that, but you know why this comes out of me? Because of what I've had to hear over the years. Your organization is poverty. We'll take all your players and laugh in your face, Kirby. The Olli Jokinens, Jay Bomeisters, Nathan Horton goes to Boston with Gregory Campbell, who's with Florida, wins the cup here, won the cup in Boston. We'll take all your players and we'll do stuff with them. Who cares about you guys? You guys can be relocated, go to Quebec. We don't care, right? So this is where that kind of comes out, that vitriol and things like, said some stuff to the Vegas fans. Well, I'll admit, on our post-game show, none of them showed up. None of them have said nothing to me. They must be hiding under a rock. But all this stuff, comes up, when you go through these things, right? And it does get me fired up and things like that. But Cody, let's get into it here at the end of this podcast. Here, everyone's like, well, you guys haven't got into this yet. But how we were feeling through games 4 through 7. Last time everyone heard from us, it was 3-1. Cody, you were away taking care of family things. Nick was traveling. That's why we weren't here. It wasn't because we were losing these games, but man, it was hard. It was depressing. Yep. A lot of self-doubt. Cody, you and I try to have that optimistic viewpoint, but man, was it ever hard from games 4 through game 6. So many messages I got. Kirby, are we going to get this done? Do you believe in this team? There was, and I'll get into the game 7 after, but if you want to talk about 4, 5, and 6, because there was something special that happened before game 7 where I made my predictions. So I want to make sure to get that in. But yeah, if you want to talk about that, Cody, it was a tough week.
Yeah, it was. I mean, game 4 happened. I wasn't too upset after game 4 because I was just like, well, dang, that just happened.
Yeah, we got other cracks at it.
Yeah, I'm just fine. like Edmonton got it out their system, but then game 5 happens, you come out flat, you let up a shorty in the first again.
Get down early. Was it 3-0?
Yeah, 3-0 again. And then just, you try to come back and then you let in another goal down at the other end, just killing your momentum again.
And we're starting at this point getting killed by their depth guys. I know Connor McDavid goes off for 2 magnificent games, but it starts to be getting killed by special teams, the shorthanded goals, the depth players of Edmonton. Skinner coming up with the save when he needs it. All credit to him. And Edmonton starting to figure out, I'll say this, people can disagree, but with a little bit of our forechecking system of when we push the puck through the neutral zone and when we hard rim it, get it into the zone. Edmonton doing a great job with their defense of getting pucks out and getting opportunities and chances. But again, at the end of the day, we were our own worst enemy in a lot of those moments.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it's just there was just nothing systematic about what Edmonton was doing. It was just self-inflicted wounds by Florida.
Mhm.
Like, I think all of Edmonton's goals, like from game 6 to 7, were all off of odd man rushes. I think all of them were. Like,
Yeah, breakaways, odd man rushes. It was just, yeah, it was like we were losing our identity and who we were there.
and people online, like, you know who you are. You like, oh, maybe we should go to Stolars. Are you kidding me? Like,
Oh,
no.
I heard stuff. Bench Monter for Belinkus.
But
Bring this guy in the lineup,
it,
that guy in the lineup. But what are we
like,
doing here, people?
but game 5, I was more like pissed off. But the third period was good, and I'm just thinking, well, Edmonton got the momentum from the third period of game 3. Let's see if we can get it from this game. Boy, was I wrong. Just, but like considering game 6, like for those who don't know, I just moved away from South Florida, a place I lived my entire life. And I was already kind of emotional because of that. And watching game 6, it just sucked the life out of me. It just sucked the life out of me. Like,
You and I were in a dark place. What was that, in the second intermission there?
yeah,
Game
like
6?
it's like you just saw the color drain from my body watching that game. And just knowing that if they lost game 7, they were like on the verge of becoming sports history on the wrong side of it.
And people starting to now root for the Edmonton Oilers, not just the hockey world, the sports world, like I said.
And it's just, and it became like such a huge
uphill climb for us as a fan base. We couldn't do nothing about it.
It became such a narrative. Like they were talking about hockey on First Take.
Oh,
First Take. Like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp were talking about hockey because of the game 7, what it meant, how big it was. Because not only was a Canadian team on the verge of winning the cup for the first time since '93, this is a historic sports comeback. And I texted you before the game. I was 100% hope and 0% confidence because that is a lot to come out and come back from. But once again, the Panthers seem to like it that way. Because game 7, they started, came out firing. Getting that first goal. And before, Cody, you get into the game 7, if that's what we're transitioning into here, I got a message from our anthem singer, John Acosta. I actually talked to him on a call the night before game 7, I want to say. And then I got a message the day of the game. I went to Calgary Zoo with my family to take my mind off of stuff. I'm like, I'm going to go today, take my mind off of this game 7, just so I'm not sitting by my phone thinking about it all day, get some stuff done earlier in the day and be like, this is a moment here to kind of just take my mind off of this. But people wanted my prediction. So Tom Connolly, shout out to you from the UK, now living stateside, asked, Kirby, what's your prediction, goal scores? I said, if we have a shot of winning this game, it's going to be a low scoring game. I'm thinking like 2-1 with Verhaeghe and Reinhart scoring a goal. I did say Reinhart on the power play. And that's the only way I could see us kind of finding a way to win this one, Cody. So I just wanted to preface that off the top. So turned out pretty good, but go ahead there. Sorry to jump in. Like game 7, they came out firing, like got an early power play. Monsor gets cross-checked in the face. And you get the power play, which was struggling mightily this series. But once again, they really didn't need it to win this series.
I did say that. As long as our PK work was good.
I liked the power play. We were in the zone more than we were not, and that was a huge improvement from games 4 through 6. And then Rodriguez just fires in front of the net, and Carter Verhaeghe coming off one of his worst games as a Panther, just puts one in. And rest of the first goes, and Edmonton ties it 2 minutes later on a mistake by the first pair, but they bounce back for the rest of the way. Because I believe that was the only odd man rush they gave up that night, was that one. Because I can't think of any other ones.
No, I can't either think of anyone.
And then, second period goes, it's back and forth. Edmonton gets a power play. And this is the huge momentum changer. This is where I thought the momentum shifted. Kevin Stenlund breaks his stick, and they're trapped in the zone. But all 4 guys on that ice killed the hell out of that penalty.
Yeah, it was a
That's
lot of battle and compete, just like later in the
Yep.
third.
That's where the momentum changed. Reinhardt gets the goal off of like Kulikov really getting the puck off our goal line.
I call pinball flippered it out of there.
Yep.
Just
And
one
then,
of those. You know when your finger slips on a pinball machine.
Yep.
I don't know pinball. I know it's going way back in time. You had more exciting games, but I was around older people, so
Like-
play pinball machines. And your finger slips, and you're like and you slip, and then you just like battle, and you get it up the board somehow, and you're
Yep.
like, I don't know how I did that. Right? That was kind of like Kulikov there.
And then Reinhardt goes the other way and scores, and then the third period, the most agonizing period I've ever experienced in my life, because we iced the puck about 45 times.
Yeah, you were worried about that. I was like, we got this. We're really good.
It's to a point,
face-off team.
It's just I want all four lines rolling, and when you ice it, you can't really do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, but then Edmonton, like we said in the beginning, double shifting was not going to work, and it just became like just another just Florida Panthers third period.
Yep. That second period by Edmonton was Florida Panthers hockey, but that third period by the Panthers, epitome of what like this whole team is about here, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just so many emotions flying back. What were the moments that you could remember? The Lusto shot block. I remember Monter getting the puck away from McDavid. I remember Bobrovsky being at flurry on the ice. There was a picture that came out later that he kind of made the save with the blocker hand there. So much stuff there. Just desperation hockey. How they ran out the clock at the end there. Just they're like, this is Florida Panthers hockey. And seeing all the clips now on social media from the Finnish broadcast, from this alternate broadcast, this call, you get to see all these things in the third period that you might have missed as a fan, and you get to relive them.
And we don't normally you're not really a big fan of this guy, but this guy pointed out, shout out C Dangle here. He pointed out that Bob got the save there when we thought Lusto blocked it. Bob stopped it. Because like I said, every Stanley Cup winner has that save that solidifies the cup. I can put you in every series which one. Like last year, we know it is Aiden Hill paddle on Nick Cousins in game 1, and that pretty much set the tone for the rest of the series. But just,
Yeah. Cody, we're gonna continue to break down this game 7 here in just a moment, but I just want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, CanesWear here. Did you check them out here? All the new merchandise here?
Yeah, I've actually ordered some.
So let our audience know just for 30 seconds here as I pull up this ad.
Just first off, just CanesWear, absolutely love them. I got a Stanley Cup Champions framed mirror wall sign. I got.
Oh, you got one of those. Ooh.
Yep.
Those look nice. I put those on our Instagram page.
Grab me, the Stanley Cup Champions t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. I need one of those.
And got me a little just those
patches or stickers, anything like that.
I got a pin or a golf ball marker or whatever.
Oh, golf ball marker. I didn't even see that. Okay. Ooh, that's something up there on my wish list. So I want everyone to check out CanesWear. Merchandise is going to be there, and it's going to sell like hotcakes. They'll probably get more in. Some new items they're going to get in through the summer as well. So just again, this is from CanesWear here. Panthers Fever has been here this whole cup ride. CanesWear and Davie is a place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team: jerseys, polos, t-shirts, championship ones now, hoodies, hats, championship ones as well, and more. CanesWear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or PanthersWear.com. Again, that's PanthersWear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
This is the Cats and Rats podcast. And now, a special segment.
And we want to thank CanesWear again for just being there all the way with us here, and obviously throughout this off season here. But just kind of going back here, reflecting on Game 7, I was talking with Cody here about this. Just where I felt, Cody, you felt that this series was we'll say game 7 was turning for us, where, there were some positive things. And I said before even puck drop game 7, let's just have this series, let's have this first period kind of be, sorry, I'm dealing with a lot of thunder and lightning in the background here right now. I don't know if we're going to lose power. Sorry, I'll get my focus here. If we can just be a tie game after 20 minutes, 0-0, 1-1, like I'll take that as a win. And I know, like, looking back at it now, people were like, really, Kirby? But yeah, put yourself in my shoes. Put yourself back in shoes of you where you were, and after games 4, games 5, game 6. Just give us a chance to win here. Let's see Panthers hockey where we're grinding it out, getting more than 2 shots on net, Cody, after 20 minutes. That would be nice. And just seeing, like, kind of carrying, dictating flow to them, but even just playing an even game, keeping everything in front of us. And I know, Cody, you said this, but I definitely said this going into game 7. That first goal is the utmost importance to give us a shot in this game.
Yeah.
So those are just the things. Be desperate, all that. All the game 7. I've watched game 7s my whole life. Stanley Cup Finals, NHL playoff games. You just need to play with a sense of desperation. And physicality, too, was something big in that first period that I wanted.
Yeah, it's just I thought the first goal was huge in game 6 for Florida, but they didn't get that one, but it kind of spiraled out of control. But the first goal was needed in game 7. Like, it was at most needed because, the confidence was close to 0. The momentum was all Edmonton side at the time.
Yeah. Even you heard the press conferences, from our players. They kind of look worn out like us.
Like, it was needed. And, that first goal just brought them a huge breath of fresh air. Like, huge.
Mm-hmm.
We can't even... I
even said it needed to be a 5-on-5 goal when people were asking me. I was like, let's come out there for a 5-on-5 game, stay out of the box.
It was borderline a power play goal. It was like 10 seconds after it ended. But
that's true. Our second unit out there. I don't know how much we could take from power play. What did we have? 1 in game 7?
2.
The one
2 in game 7.
And the Oilers had, was it 1? 1, yeah. Okay. So thank you, Cody. Very low event
while we're at it. Shout out to the officiating.
And Dan O'Rourke.
I mean, I thought they officiated the game well. I mean, at the time, I didn't like the Kachuk call. But looking back on it, it's just like, well, I guess they had to make it. It's a trip either way. Mm-hmm. But I like the way they ref the game. Like, it took, obvious stuff for them to call it. Like, that high stick by Bouchard on Oosterreinen was very obvious, and they called it. They let some other stuff go, but... I don't have a problem with any of the stuff they let go. I'm just going to be real.
I was glad that we didn't have Chris Rooney in that game, but that's just me. So he was eligible for that. So you don't know till the day of, and I know some of our fans pay really close attention to that. But being game 7, I was kind of locked in. Okay, what crew are we going to get here? Dan O'Rourke, and who was it?
Who was the other one? Let me look.
You'd have to check for me because I'm on my phone here now because of this.
Give me a moment. It was Dan O'Rourke and Steve Kazari.
Oh, Kazari, yeah, that's right. Yep. So again, Dan O'Rourke has that big record. I don't know if you have it in front of you there, Cody. I don't have it here in my notes, but was it something like 14-0-1, 13-0-1, officiating Panthers games this season, I believe, and playoffs. So these are supposed to be the best crews, that get this opportunity to officiate a Stanley Cup final, and especially a game 7. So those were the gentlemen. I don't think they played a case in it. I heard the Canadian media, the American media, we can touch on that a little bit, Cody, but after the game, they said, what a great game 7. We got to give credit, to the Edmonton Oilers. I thought that second period by them was exceptional, for them to battle back from 3-0 down in the series. I just didn't want the game 7 to be in the refs' hands or fans to say, this, that, the other. It was just a great played game 7, and I think you hear that from the leaders of the Oilers and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, from the Oilers media, from all their other players, just the national media on both the Canadian American side. From what I heard, anyways, very well played game 7. That's all you can ask for, and that's our team, coming out on top at the end in the biggest franchise win in history.
No, it's funny. It's like, people are like back in the early days, the Panthers don't draw any viewers. Guess what? The game 7 was the highest non original six game.
Okay.
Highest viewed non-original six game in NHL history.
Wow. I did hear some numbers. I didn't hear that stat though. So much stuff out there right now to take in, and
It was like 7 million viewers.
wow. And that's huge. And again, is that because of the generational player Connor McDavid? This comeback of historic proportions that goes all the way back to the 40s. Game 7 in hockey, you'll even get casual viewers of other sports tuning in. It's a do or die game, and you can't find better thing in any sport. Game 7, Stanley Cup final. People can say the Super Bowl, Cody, but you don't know what type of game you're going to get out of the Super Bowl. I'll say it's a corporate event. The best football games sometimes happen in the conference championships or earlier on. You can get a game 7 in basketball. Hey, I'm a basketball coach. I grew up watching the sport. I know the sport very well. I can speak on it on a coaching level better than I can hockey, but I understand the game of hockey at a very high level. And maybe like a World Series game 7, you can go back and look at some of those in the sport of baseball. But game 7, Stanley Cup final, everything on the line, Cody. These guys are hurting, bumps and bruises. Some of them are going to need surgery in the offseason. They're going to put it all on the line for those 60 minutes. And you saw that.
Yep. And I don't think we can talk about like the pinnacle of game 7 better, or the success of the Panthers game 7 more than our coach and Paul Maurice, who is now 5-0 in game 7s, and I think has now finished his resume as one of the greatest hockey coaches of all time.
He can go in the Hall of Fame now. Our goaltender can. Our captain can. But go on with Paul Maurice. I don't want to take the spotlight off.
But Paul Maurice just, like when he was hired here, we heard it, Kirby, from like some of the fans, like, oh, he's a loser, career loser. Like if he hasn't won a cup before, it makes you think he's going to win a cup with us.
How about Dom from The Athletic? Shout out to Dom there that you guys some of you guys praise. Go look at that tweet. How do you get rid of a President's Trophy winning coach and Andrew Burnett for a guy like Paul Maurice, who's been a career loser, or whatever his exact tweet was? We heard that so much, Cody, from outside the fan base, from within the fan base. You even heard it here in the last week. And Cody, I know you kind of turned off your notifications on social media because, not just the things that were being said out there online, but the things that you were dealing with in your personal life, and you just kind of took a step back. And there was times where I did too. I like seeing the Paul Maurice stuff again and Sit Bob and all this stuff. But Paul Maurice, man, every time when something goes bad with this team, and it was starting to go real bad and unravel, people blaming him. Everyone, the players are accountable, right? Like that's what we said. Like at the end of the day, the players are accountable. I was upset at Zito. The same fans are getting upset at Paul Maurice. People are upset this player, that player, the other. It's the whole team, and we've said that, Cody. After game 6, we kind of did a one-on-one spaces taking the calls. And I want everyone to go back and listen to that this summer. It was really good for those speakers to come up in our post-game show. It wasn't easy after that. And after this, epic collapse from 3-0 to 3-3 and looking like, everyone giving the Oilers the Stanley Cup from the outside. And the speakers that we had to come up talk in the post-game, man, so reflective, so poised, and, could give you a sense of like, okay, I see what's happening here, but we do have a chance here in this game 7. A lot of fans would just wanted to listen because it was tough, Cody.
I mean, and I held off of social media because I'm just going to be honest here. Like, I don't like it when a lot of people are negative, because like when you tweet out like negative stuff, like unless like the team's like already lost and knocked out of the playoffs, like it affects like some people in some way. Then I understand that now. Like,
and they come to you and me, Cody, like we're the harbinger or we're responsible for those individuals.
Yeah.
It's very hard for you and I to kind of moderate that. And things that we had to do last year with the Paul Maurice stuff.
That's why I took a step back, because I really had nothing positive to say after game 6. I really didn't.
Yeah, and people and the good fans of our community, which it's a lot, that's the majority, were messaging me and searching for answers, and they might have been messaging you or Nick as well. And it was really hard to find answers through that.
I didn't have one. I really didn't.
Yep.
And
I know our co-host Nick was very positive during that. Like sometimes he's the roller coaster at the best of but I gave him credit after.
But he was a screw loose positive. Like
he does that self-talk. Like, but this time I did feel like he did feel, hey Kirby, we can get this done. And before he went to Italy, or as he was traveling there, And you know, he did miss game 7. They had to reschedule, I think, their trip as was. So I do feel for him that he wasn't there with his section and all the fans to take in that game 7. But there was fans there, you know, even one of our co-hosts, Lex, she was contemplating whether to go. A lot of money to travel from California to Florida, go there. Am I going there just to be disappointed? But if I don't go, I might miss the experience of my lifetime. So much stuff was going on, Cody, that people don't even realize behind the scenes, like with fans, you know, in our community.
Like I said, I just took a step back and I just, you know, I just stayed off of it because really had nothing good to say. And who am I to bring down the positivity of others when I'm just negative? I don't see a good thing in that.
Yep.
And
no, you played it really smart, right? I try to be realistic with people that are like, oh, Kirby, that's the only shot you kind of give us, 25%, 30%. I said, yeah, but the way that we can win in that 25, 30% is if we lock it down. And some fans don't like to hear that, Cody, but that's the DNA of what this team is. You know, it's like,
how
we've got to find
there.
our game, you know? And I'm like, that's our only way. We're not going to win. If some people were saying like a 5-4, 4-3 game or like 5-2 or 4-2, I'm like, I really don't feel if that's the final score that we're coming out on top. And I'm just being realistic with people.
And people just downplay what we did in the previous 3 series, like with the defense. Like we went against 2, like I guess Boston really wasn't like an offensive juggernaut. They were just more team structure and like good goaltending.
Mm-hmm. They had good structure.
New York and Tampa were 2 of the top 5 offenses in the league here.
Yeah.
And Florida shut them down.
And we did it to Connor McDavid in this series prior to game 7.
Yeah, no points.
We did it to Leon Draisaitl all series.
No goals.
Yeah, no goals. I think no goals through 8 games, even dating back to one game there in Dallas, I believe, against Dallas. So again, like that's how we're gonna have to get it done. And you know, people, you will get back to Paul Maurice. People with self-doubt with Paul Maurice. Even the record shows there in game 7s how good he is. The Bobrovsky stuff, you know, he's taking that maybe mental day off of practice, which I think more than the schedule helping us, I think it really hurt us, Cody, for our style of play. And I know people push back on me with that. I know we end up pulling out game 7, but all these extra days off did not help us. But I think those days off between game 6 and 7 and Bob taking that rest day from practice, I think that's what really helped us.
Yeah, like big ups to Rob Tallis for knowing what makes Bob tick. Because Bob, like, it takes a lot to keep Bob away from the rink. He's a hockey junkie, hockey lifer. Like, he's that type of guy. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up coaching in Russia somewhere when he's retired. Because that's how much Bob loves this.
We got some future coaches and future management people on this team. I'll throw Sam Reinhart into that.
But
mix.
Speaking of Sam Reinhart.
Yes. Okay. We kind of close here on this chapter, we'll continue to talk about the Panthers run here. We're going to try to get some interviews too this summer, Cody, but you do got to look ahead a little bit. I know people might not want to, but there's fans that want to hear some stuff from us, what's going to happen this offseason. In the last 24, 48 hours, Cody, I'm starting to get those messages. So you go ahead.
I mean, we have the 2 big UFAs, Sam Reinhart, Brandon Montour. And then, you know, you have like the other UFAs, you know, the Stenlin, Lomberg, Cousins, Lorentz.
Let's not forget Anthony Stolars.
Yeah, Stolars, OEL, Kulikov. Like, we have all those guys. But right now, I think key number 1, Sam Reinhart. I think we both are on the same page with that.
We've been there all year, Cody. Same page on that. I've been there since the Marlins' first pitch.
He's number 1. Priority number 1. I think it gets done. I think.
No, I've heard some stuff, and I shared it with you. We'll see if it's true or not, but
yeah,
it's very positive of what the Panthers are trying to do. Maybe an 8-year, maybe 8.5. Now I see if they can get him locked for that number. Frank Cervelli's come out and said we value his contract at 11 point whatever. You know, they're trying to generate clicks and different things like that too, because like if you are talking about Panther free agents, you want other teams to get their hopes up. Oh, I can get that guy. I can get Reinhardt. Oh, I can get Montour. Oh, I can get this guy from the Panthers. Yep. You want that to generate clips. I don't know if that's going to be the number. I've said some team might offer him 10, 10.5, 11 point, whatever Cervelli put out there. Was it 11.4, 11.7? I can't remember. But
that's absolutely. Really I love Reinhardt. That's absolutely insane.
But they said because of the cap increase and all that. It was just a clip I saw before.
The cap increase, 11.5. That's franchise money.
Something around that it was. And again, the internal cap that Zito's probably going to hold true to with the number that Barkov's at and then the number that Kachuk's at was it 9.5?
9.5.
So it's
Barkov's at 10 even.
10 even,
which
so
is
yeah,
like very huge in my opinion. And the fact that you now have the Stanley Cup to say, hey, this works. Get on board or get out. Like,
yeah, it comes down to that business thing versus where a lot of people are looking at it from an emotional standpoint. But Reinhart, and if you want to get into Montour too, these are two of my top 5 favorite players on the team. You know, I put that up there. Barkov's my number 1, and then I've got Tkachuk in there, and then the other guy that you mentioned, I think earlier too, Lomberg. So I've got a lot of guys that I'm going to lose potentially here. Maybe all of them are.
Yeah, but you'll end up gaining some guys because the Panthers usually sign a guy that you really like Stenlund last offseason.
Yeah, Mikola's kind of in that realm where I've been a champion for Stenlund and Mikola, right? And I can see that where I've lost Marchman, and I'm going to lose guys inevitably this summer. Everyone is going to lose someone this summer because this is a Stanley Cup team and winning team, and there's so many likable and characters and personalities that are like the last year. The big one for a lot of people was Gudis, right? But you know, we have 4 or 5 Gudises this summer and then some. You know, so I don't know, Cody.
We tried to tell the fan base about Gudis last year as well.
Yeah, and I tried to tell them the year prior with Marchman, even though I love Marchman. It's a business. We're not going to be able to bring those guys back. This year, it's interesting because you win the cup. Are you going to come back at a discount, or other teams are going to offer you the bag and you get so much money you can't turn it down, Cody? And that starts to play into the NHLPA. Fans are like, why don't they want to stay in South Florida? Look at Tarasenko and OEL. They're going to take a discount. They're going to stay here. Everyone's going to stay here. That's not how the business of hockey works, and that's not how the players' union works.
It's just
you'll get in trouble for.
And I don't think a lot of people understand this. Like, it's easier to see guys from Edmonton say, "I'm gonna take a discount because I think we can win here," because they just made it to the Cup final and they came up short. Okay. So that hunger is there. But when you have that cup, a lot of the hunger goes away for guys like that. Like, now it's time to get paid. Like, I think Montour wants to get paid because and I told you my reasons why. Now the cup adds to it, but he's a new dad. It's a new perspective here. Like I felt that with Forsling as well. Like, both of them new dads. Like, it's a new perspective. You need to worry about an offspring into this world now.
I said generational wealth, right? But a guy like Montour, I know we differ a little bit on it, Queen. That's fine. Do you want to lock in now because you have a young family and another one on the way and stay in the state of Florida, or is this the time now to make that jump? And I'm not feeling super optimistic that Montour is going to stay. But to me, it's not about the hunger. It's not about him winning the Stanley Cup. It's about the multiple offers that he's going to get. Like, he is more of a prized free agent than some of the fan base that doesn't really care for Brandon Montour. He is going to get paid. And fans thought I was ridiculous, Cody, saying the number 6.5 last summer. He's going to get more than that probably on the open market.
If he goes to a Canadian team, it's going to be 7.
Yeah. And people were laughing at that number around that neighborhood. And I don't know. I'm telling you, you know, and Reinhardt's value too. But anyways,
I mean, Reinhardt's value is up the roof now because he got 57 goals here.
Yep. Like having your best season on a contract year, similar to what Forsling did, having his best season, but the Panthers lock him in earlier. That's what happens when you drag it out and you wait, and this team goes to Stanley Cup. I knew Zito probably thought, well, we're at least going 3-4 rounds.
Yeah, but I don't think he.
But then you don't have time with this free agent window.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think me and you would have predicted. Oh yeah, the Game 7 of the Cup final a week later is free agency.
Well, Jason Strudwick mentioned that here on our podcast, Cody. He was the one that told us.
Yeah, but that was after the dates were released. We didn't think about that in April.
Oh yeah, well,
back in April, we were like, oh dude, we're done early June, mid June. We're in late June now.
This is crazy. Yeah,
the Panthers won the Stanley Cup on June 25th. I mean, on June 24th. I'm sorry.
And I don't want to get away from Florida here, Cody, as we're kind of wrapping up this podcast episode, this very special episode. I believe it's number 20. I didn't mention it off the top, but very special episode here. We're not the only team that has to get stuff done. Some of these teams that were later into the playoffs, but look at the one across the ice for us, the Edmonton Oilers. They got Ken Holland. They got to make decisions on guys like Evander Kane. Leon Draisaitl's contract is up in 1 year. So there's huge decisions here for both these franchises.
And they also have to pay Evan Bouchard soon, too.
Yep. And then how does he tie in? See, this is a guy in Evan Bouchard. I wish Nick was here to speak on this because he has liked Evan Bouchard's game. And we were trying to explain to our fans, this guy is going to get paid because if he's an 80, 90 point guy, you're putting him in in the neighborhood of the Roman Yossi's and Cale Makars. I don't think he's a Cale Makar, but you're starting to put him in that neighborhood of the top 5, top 6.
I don't think
top
he's a
8
Yossi
defenseman.
either.
Well,
but
you don't think he's going to be in that tier, in that neighborhood of top 5, top 8 defensemen? That's where he's going to be put at, I feel.
I feel like he needs to be better defensively to be in that tier to me.
Yeah, and I think he needs to find that evolution and things like that. But I think he is a guy that's going to go for the bag with the Oilers. I think he might not be like, I don't care what Draisaitl's doing. I don't care what McDavid's doing in 2 summers. I think that's when he's a free agent. I'm just going to get my bag now with the Oilers, and they can pay him.
Fan base, I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving within our division. There's a lot of big moves within the Atlantic Division that have yet to happen. Like, Linus Ullmark to Ottawa. Yeah,
the Detroit Red Wings, what are they going to do? Steven Stamkos, other targets out there. That's spicy.
Stammer's still not signed with Tampa, and I'm not sure if he will.
Mm-hmm. The Toronto Maple Leafs, what are they doing in net? What are they doing with Mitch Marner? Mitchie Marner. You guys sent me messages on him that we have a cup and he doesn't have one. So I had to mention him here on the podcast.
It went from, they're definitely trading him to, now they may offer him an extension.
It's crazy. Wild.
It's flip-flopping here. And Buffalo, I'm pretty sure have stuff up their sleeve because, they're not going to sit around with that core they have.
And they're seeing their former Sabres and Reinhart, Monter, Oposo, all these guys holding the Stanley Cup over there. That can't sit well with the organization.
Eichel the year before too.
Good point.
And you have Montreal who could be just loading up in 2 to 3 years to make a big push.
Yeah, I feel Montreal. We're gonna face them real soon here in the playoffs in the first round. Kirby said it first. So in the next year or two, I feel a collision.
Look around the Eastern Conference. Carolina's going to have some big stuff doing. The Rangers also. The Devils are trying to make some moves right now. They already did. They added Jacob Markstrom.
Former Panther.
I'm ready for the offseason here. Luckily for us as Panther fans, we have a cup. We can sit back and, enjoy it a little bit more.
And talk about 10, 20% and then enjoy the cup. It's that really happy medium, that sweet spot that you can kind of enjoy both, because this would have been hard for fans just to tune into this content and hear this. But me and Cody, we're still going to be Panther fans at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, and also covering all this off-season content that we're going to be bringing your way with the draft with one of our co-hosts, Vince, who's at the draft right now at the Sphere. When he comes back, we'll get some of that out to you. I know there's not huge storylines right now with the Panthers, but if there's trades or different things involving the Panthers, we will go to our emergency spaces and we'll let everyone know. We'll go live for stuff like that, because there could be things that Zito has to maneuver here to work around with this cap. And then when July 1st comes, that's our granddaddy day of the year, where we go live for 3, 4, 5 hours, break down not just the Panther signings, but from all around the league. And Cody, that's when we get new followers and fans from not just the Panthers, but from fans all over the league that follow us all year. Shout out to Jeff K, who is a big Capitals fan. He listened to our spaces all playoff run. So we're going to have a bunch of fans in there from all over the league. It's really fun. So again, if you're not on the Twitter app, Twitter X app, get on there. July 1st is some of our best work, if I may say so myself.
Yeah, and just enjoy the Stanley Cup run. But around the NHL, it's going to be geared up here.
Yep, and we're going to bring a lot of that to our new YouTube channel. So make sure everyone follows there. Cats and Rats podcast on YouTube channel. I'd like to get some of our draft coverage stuff up there from Vince. He's working on a database. He's doing a lot of work. So I'd like to get a video form up on there.
And I can tell you for a fact, whoever we draft in this upcoming draft, he will know the back of his hand their comps, how they play, where they're from, where their daddies are from. I don't know. That's just how Vince rolls.
We'll just give Vince the mic and let him go there. And you guys, any draft information, we will reroute you to our podcast episode there with Vince. So when he gets back, I believe from Vegas, we'll record that. And then of course, any breaking news with players, we might have a special podcast episode. And as well, Cody, July 1st stuff. And then we'll probably work on some special guests throughout July and August when it starts to slow down a bit for content wise. And then we can, at that point again, when the hockey news, the trades, the free agency period, Cody, when the hockey news starts to slow down, we can again reminisce about being Stanley Cup champions with some of these special guests. So that's my plan ahead.
But for right now, I'm going to keep enjoying scrolling through Twitter, seeing my favorite team just enjoy the work they put in.
Yep. Cody, anything else on the way out here? I have one more thing I just wanted to mention.
just enjoy the ride, Panther fans. Enjoy it.
I just wanted to add this on the way out before we go here. The night of the Matthew Tkachuk trade for Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar, I still reflect back to that. I reflected back to that this week. One of my friends here, it's a local Calgary Flames fan. His name's Rambo. Awesome name. Played basketball with him. He sent me a nice voice memo that day. And even though Cody and I and some of our community was positive about the trade, woke up the next day or two and we're like, that's quite a bit to give up, Huberdeau and Weegar. I really believed in Tkachuk, but Rambo left me a great voice memo, a Calgary Flames fan, and he congratulated us on the Stanley Cup. But he's like, Kirby, do you remember back to that night when Tkachuk got traded? The next day I sent you a voice memo and I said, Matthew Tkachuk is going to win you guys a cup or two. Like, you guys are going to win the Stanley Cup. And he was the first one to tell me that, not a Panther fan, a local fan here. And he's been supporting us all this way. Of course, he didn't want the Edmonton Oilers to win. So that was a big motivating factor for people in my city of Calgary. So it was just really nice for that. And I wanted to give him a special shout out there. And I do remember that. And I try to remember everything that you guys in our community send me. I would love to find a way to be able to curate it and share it with everyone. So I'm thinking of ideas because so much DMs were sent to me over the past week or two here, and it would be really nice if the entire community can see how a lot of you poured out your heart, emotions, and everything into this special run. So again, on the way out here, Florida Panthers are your 2024 Stanley Cup champions. The first title for me and my co-host Nick, who's not here today, as a sports fan. For a lot of you that are out there too, Cody, back-to-back titles with his teams, the Boston Celtics and Florida Panthers. This is just a great time right now to be a sports fan, to be a Florida Panther fan. And we're going to be here all summer, but I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. Every day I pick up my phone, I see Florida Panther player holding the Stanley Cup, celebrating with the cup, with their family, loved ones. And this is a special time right now to be a Florida Panther fan. So as we always say, on the way out here, on this special Stanley Cup Panthers edition, let's go Cats!